Good morning. Monique, is my audio coming in okay?
Yes, I
All
can hear
right.
you clearly.
Okay, unmute myself. All right. Good morning. Thank you for having me sa Y4IT. Medyo mahirap lang yung status ko ngayon dahil ang sinusundan ko speaker is the great Joey Gorango. Joey, I miss you. I hope to see you face to face very soon. That's the ultimate idol. Ika nga, dalawa lang naging boss niyan. Pareho pang legendary sa mundo. So, well, me, I'm a service guy. And in the video game industry in the Philippines, I've been serving the association for over 10 years. Over 10 years. The 10 years I served the association was as president. And after 10 years, they decided to, they couldn't, my association friends could not kick me out. So they kicked me upwards. So now they chairman. So I still am quite active in the industry. So let me share my screen with you as I tell you more about the video game industry in the Philippines, because that's one thing. A lot of Filipinos are surprised that there is even a video game industry in the Philippines. Usually kasi ang mainit lang. Like when pagtanong ni Monique kanina, Mobile Legends, Valorant, COD, lahat yan. Yan naman na alam ng mga karamihan ng tao. Yung mga games na nilalaro sa Pilipinas talaga. Pero lahat ng minention ni Monique kanina, lahat yon wala akong kinalaman doon. Ibig sabihin, I was never part of their production team. So I'll share with you a bit of my experience, and then hopefully I can share with you some tips, some tricks, just in case you want to engage and challenge yourself to be part of the growing video game industry of the Philippines. So give me a minute. So first, let's see. I'm going to show you a YouTube clip of what I mostly do during the day. Here we go. All right. So proudly, I share that clip because it was part of a game that we just finished around almost 2 years ago, called Gears of War 5. And that scene or that map that you just saw, the amazing thing about it is Filipinos made it. In a console game or a triple A game, it takes hundreds of people, to do a project. And that's why I like using that scene and that map. Kachamba chamba, it was my team from the Philippines who was assigned to do that entire map. So I hope that gives you an idea on the global class level of quality of our talent in video games. It's hard to show the engineering expertise, but it's easier to show the art expertise of the Philippines coming from my eyes. And so next. All right. So to tell you about our video game industry and myself, so I do work for a studio. The studio I work for is called Synergy 88. Medyo bata pa ang Synergy 88. It's 6 years old. So this is only the second studio I've been working for. And now for Synergy, my role is studio director. And most of what I do under Synergy 88 is very, very art heavy. It's very, very art heavy. It's mostly about 3D, the 3D arts. And if you've noticed during this pandemic, during this lockdown, ang swerteng negosyo talaga is everything that was digital. It's everything that was online that actually had growth. And the amazing thing about video games, since the entire world was trapped in their houses for over a year, can you believe that the video game industry garnered 3 years worth, 3 years worth of new consumers, of new users? So actually now, the biggest games in the world of last year just got bigger. So since the games are getting bigger, there's more funding. Can you imagine that? During the pandemic, more funding was received for newer projects, the next sequel of a project, because video games actually flourished. It wasn't struggling during the pandemic, which is good for people like us. That's why, I was very excited when they asked me to talk. So Y4IT, because you guys are students and you're now trying to chart your path in life. And we just proven, the guys doing online work in the digital sphere, that we are pretty much pandemic proof. Just for that, just for that, maybe you should really take a serious look at your options. We don't know what the future will hold in terms of health and health insecurity. So again, I hope you take a lot of time and take it seriously about listening to the experiences of the speakers of your event, and jot down the tips and tricks. You might like some. So on my part, I've been able to be part of a few AAA games way back when, over a decade ago. I was doing games for PlayStation. I was part of a team that did some work for Uncharted 3 and the famous Last of Us as well. My name is there. Most of you, siguro, at your age range, what you experienced or what you hear about nowadays is the sequel, The Last of Us 2. So I was part of the first one. And then another globally winning game was Witcher 3. So we had a small part of that as well. And the very, very famous Cyberpunk, uh, our team had a part in that as well. But we really made our mark in the for Synergy. We really made our mark when we hit the deal with Microsoft, with Xbox, and we started off with Gears of War 4, and eventually, as the years rolled by, we were part of we already became the major team for Gears 5, and its additional game, additional DLC called Hive Busters. So yeah, imagine in a decade, I've been able to be part of these global projects. And what we proved is it doesn't matter where you are from. You know, global talent is global talent as long as you do some things well. So this picture, it's actually a snapshot I took of a conference in 2018. It's one of the biggest video game conferences. And why I'm sharing it with you, this was a slide used by one of the employees of our client. And he goes, well, our teams are scattered around the world. And it was projected on screen. And it was, all these countries had these yellow dots. Those were where the teams were. There were engineering teams, QA teams all around the world. And I just became so happy because when that yellow dot fell on the Philippines, I could stand up and claim, that's my yellow dot. We are the first Microsoft certified provider of art in the Philippines. And till this day, I'm so tickled and proud that we did that because look, we're part of the Microsoft map. But even if we do AAA, Synergy 88 is part of a conglomerate of companies. We even do games locally, and some of you might have heard, and this will be a surprise to a lot of people, that it was actually us who were behind this little chain of games for Will to Play. So as everyone knows, Willie is one of the most famous TV personalities we have. He has a daily show and it gratifies a lot of its users with gifts almost on a daily basis. So our solution was to enable his fans and followers to keep on playing games even after the TV show. through a mobile platform. We do have a lot of users right now, and it's still rising. And as an IT person, I'd like to share with you how a simple strategy to how we did this. Now, take it to heart if you're in IT and you're going to develop applications or programs. That is very very important to learn how to discern the approach. You know how to investigate and come up with practical solutions when given a task. Now, this one but the Philippines is our infrastructure is very challenged. Our internet is not the best. And again, most phones in the mass market are on the lower end, limited yung storage nila, and it's prepaid. So very, very limited yung mga capacities nila. So we had to design this platform because it had to be usable for the fans of Willie, which is the fans of Willie are 10 million. 10 million. So when we were designing it, I had to push and say that, whatever we do, the end product should hover around only 50 megabytes. Because that, I believe, is the most palatable or more acceptable file size when you're actually pushing games to the Filipinos. And these are very casual games. We're not talking about Mobile Legends or anything like that. Because Mobile Legends, that's really for mga esports aficionados. But this one is for the casual players. There are much more casual players than anyone else, in games right now. So talaga, this should be suited to the average phone in the Philippines. And surprisingly, okay, when we put it out there a couple of months ago, it already had 5 games inside. Once you download it, a single download, and you open the Will to Play application, there are already 5 games inside. What's wonderful about that is even though it had 5 games, it's still 50 megabytes. All right, so it comes with it. It comes with it. Hopefully, you'll learn about that as time goes by. In video games, we're kind of different. We're kind of the oddball in technology. We're people. Some people call us weird. Sige, tanggapin namin yon. Because the way we use technology is basically for entertainment. So we pretty much in our team, we pretty much need people who are either left brain or right brain. So here, this is something I just snatched out of the internet. When you say left brain, you are the most logical. You plan things out in great detail. Hopefully, you are very math and science minded. And for the right brain, here's where the art people come from. They're really focused on creating things from scratch. Their imagination soars, and they invent things. They prefer storytelling. So you need these two main sections when you're doing a video game, whether it's AAA, whether it's mobile, whether it's PC. These are what you do. So even though that this is Y4IT, I do expect, that if we were to be in one room altogether, I would ask you guys, are you left brain or your right brain? I'm pretty sure we'd probably have an even division in the room. Usually that is the case. Again, even under an IT umbrella. There's some people who really feel creative. They'll be more prone to the arts, and then some will probably be more prone into the engineering or the development side of things in video games. And there's really no secret. We don't write books. We're not very academic, but through our experience, these are the very very general steps that we want to share with you if you want to embark on a career in video games. Again, this is very different. Parents usually don't like their children entering video games because it's there's a veil of mystery behind it. People think that all we do every day is play. They don't understand that what we do is actually real work, and it's all about development. Really, it's a hard job. It's a hard job, and it's quite challenging. And actually, we don't need a whole lot of people. We don't need a whole lot of people. We just need a special few. And maybe that's you. So if that's you, listen up. Now, if you did embark on that career and you had for example, you took a game course, because we do have, for the last 10 years, we've had a game design and development course in the Philippines. And so when you go to the workforce, first tip is get exposed to a lot of different projects. Make sure after one project is done, try to be part of another team that's doing another task, especially if you're an engineer. Maybe you start off being with a front end developer. Maybe try back end as well. Do that. Do the first year. Try and get as many projects as you can. Next, again, work in different teams. There's a lot of things. It's a lot of things that has to be developed when you're doing video games. It's not it's not just straight coding. There's a lot of things you have to consider, because we use things like physics or math. How to use all that in a game scenario is pretty fascinating, and it takes a lot of getting used to. So exposing yourself into different teams will give you, a lot of that exercise, kind of brain exercise that you need to actually finish and make a game fun. Next, sing and shout. Now, I just try to make light of this because there's a tendency of a lot of Filipinos not to say anything, not to react when they see something wrong. Now, even though you're a first year developer and you see something wrong in the production, don't be afraid to bring it up to your team lead, because it might just be a mistake. you know. So it's very, very important that you don't just keep your head down and just do your work. Hindi ganun eh. Imagine that you are part of the team. If you see something wrong, some formula, some code, which is looking like spaghetti at this point, please sing and shout about it to your team members, to your team lead. This is very, very important. And, this will surprise you when you work with foreign teams. It's like that. There's a lot of chatter when they're developing. It's not actually quiet. It's part of the creative process, even in engineering. And the next one is absolutely funny. Get lazy. Lazy in a sense that when you're programming, for games, you're going to find a lot of repetitive actions, a lot of loops, and your job as a growing developer is to cut most of that out, is to actually eliminate a lot of the garbage that it takes to produce a single action. Okay, that's why we say get lazy. Take out much of the spaghetti in the garbage that's in the way when you're making a game. And only usually it's only the more experienced people who can do this. All right, so get lazy. Now, once you've gotten this sort of experience and expertise, the next challenge we have for you at this point, maybe you've spent 1 year, 1.5 years, maybe 2 years developing games. And on the next stage, you'll have to lead. You'll have to lead a small team. This is what we push you for. When you're leading, a lot of new things will come out. You'll find yourself that you're pushed to communicate even better and farther than you've ever been. You're going to be forced to do that. The responsibility, the mantle of responsibility that falls to you when you're leading a team, it's real. And it will grow you up. It won't kill you. Don't worry. It won't kill you. It will make you stronger. And then when you're used to training, training other people, new employees or old employees that join your team, and you need to share the learnings that you got from 2 projects ago, then you can train them to be lazy as well. You need to grow up your team members to be as good as you, maybe even better than you. Don't worry, you won't lose your job. You'll only get a stronger and stronger team. And studio bosses will see that. That makes you indispensable. And then also understand that in development, there's always continuous learning. It doesn't matter if you're an engineer or a 3D artist or a 2D artist. Keep it in your head that you're never truly a master. Technologies change, games change, and you have to continue your learning. You have to be thirsty for everything that's new, that's coming up, and what the future holds for video game entertainment. You have to be abreast on the latest change in technology. So accept that. Take new lessons, experiment with new software, do new codes, look at up and coming game engines, look at the works of other experts around the country, around the world, even. All right. And then once you're up there, maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe even 6 years down the line, and you've become a senior developer, by this time, we hope that you've become a master of communication and storytelling. A master of communication and storytelling. You know, these are the architects of development that they could actually design and digest what the client needs for a game, you know. And at this point, as a master communicator, you would be able to empathize and believe with your client, you know, that this game will rock, that this game will be entertaining, that this game will rake in the awards and the profit. And then you have to get that storytelling talent and share it down the line with your team members, whether it's in the Philippines or around the world. Sadly, not a lot of people are talented in doing this. Usually, it's the more senior people who can do this. But aim for this: a master of communication, a master in storytelling. But before we get here, we have to actually jump back. We forgot there are prerequisites before you go into the game development business. The prerequisites are: if you're a developer, if you want to be a developer, you got to be good in physics, math, these things. You're not just coding. You have to add these things on your weaponry. If you're on the art side, you have to learn about things like anatomy, architecture, mechanics, because you'll be building worlds with us. You'll be building the most fabulous buildings, the weirdest crafts, vehicles, costumes, weapons, name it. So your mind has to be really open to these things. Again, for developers, another tip: do not be a slave to the engine. Now, in developing video games, we have free software out there, free engines, but do not be a slave to them. Nowadays, you know, people can actually create simple games by simply dragging and dropping. And unfortunately, some kids graduate college thinking that the ability to drag and drop credits them to become and be called a developer. No, you're not. Sadly, you're not. You know, doing the templates and the drag and drops, that's really for mostly for the amateurs. If you want to join the industry, you have to go to the next one. You have to meet your brain and learn how to code. You gotta do it. You learn how to code. And for game development, my biggest suggestion is to learn the C's. C++, the oldest languages out there, the most basic. But once you learn C, it unlocks your brain, and it will make you capable of using most other software out there in the universe. You just need that training in your head through learning C++, and you can appreciate the others. Okay, there's a question here. Yeah, so there's two popular engines in the world right now. Unity. Definitely, Unity is being used by 64% of developers around the world. And the others, especially in AAA, what I do for Xbox or PlayStation, some of us use Unreal. Okay, so for Unreal uses C++, and Unity uses C Sharp. So that's why I remind you that if you need to learn these things, C++ or C Sharp. Very, very important. Please don't even apply if you don't know it. You're wasting your time and you're wasting hours as well. Another tip: master one, learn three. Now, once you master C++, maybe you have to learn three others. You know, maybe you have to learn three others that you need to build a database. You need to learn more about the backend, how you're going to store all that information when you're playing a game. So keep that, you know, as I said, you got to keep on learning, keep on chugging along. Master one, learn three. While you're a student, enjoy your capstone. Make something real. You know, actually pick good members to be part of your team. Take it seriously, your capstone. Believe me, if you do your capstone well, you can bring that experience with you throughout your career. A lot of people I know around the world, uh, I'm in late age already. There's always reference to what they did during their thesis or capstone. Very, very important. If you do the game engine, a math engine when you're in college, that will bring you places. Believe me, it will bring you places. The next, take your internship seriously. Please, it's for me, it's like winning a job. So, come on time and produce, and it's different. Internship is not, it's not like school anymore. It's really, we're going to treat you as if it was real work. So take that seriously as well. If we tell you that your internship takes 6 months, take it. We have reasons for that. Next, if you want to be a true game developer, join the game jams. Every year there are game jams in the Philippines, and this is a global thing. Please join. The social interaction will do you good. You gotta meet other people. That's required. You have to learn how to work in a team. And there will be other jams within the year. Please join them. It will teach you how to compete. And if you cannot compete, you cannot make great games. It's all about the games at this point. So jam on. Next, last, if you are taking a game course, is polish your portfolio. Whether you're engineering, you're an artist, make sure you have a very, very strong portfolio, because that's your biggest weapon in landing a good internship or a good job. Okay, so that's it. That's pretty much it. Those are the best tips, I guess, that we could share with you. So enjoy. So definitely, I hope I have amused you for the last 20 minutes or lumagpas na ako. But if there's anything else, you can always reach me on Facebook or to these kind people in Y4IT.